So, this is how you keep my son's house? She asked with a dry laugh. Yes, Mama, Grace replied softly. You're welcome. Madame Ruth ignored the greeting and sat down heavily. 5 years of marriage and this house is still quiet like a graveyard. No child's cry, no laughter. Grace felt the words hit her chest like stones. Michael sat beside his mother and said nothing. That silence hurt Grace more than the insult. From that day, Madame Ruth turned Grace's life into daily suffering. She complained about everything: food, cleaning, even the way Grace walked. You sleep too much, she would say. You eat too much. You are useless as a woman. Sometimes she would insult Grace's parents. Maybe barrenness runs in your family. Grace swallowed her tears and kept walking. Every morning, she woke earlier than before. She cooked different meals to please her mother-in-law. Still, nothing was ever good enough. One afternoon, Grace overheard Madame Ruth speaking to Michael in a low voice. My son, you are wasting your life. This woman cannot give you a child. She's trying, Mama, Michael replied weakly. Madame Ruth scoffed. Trying doesn't give grandchildren. A real woman gives birth. Grace stood behind the wall, her heart breaking. Days later, Madame Ruth left the house without saying where she was going. When she returned in the evening, she was not alone. A young woman followed her inside. She was well dressed, confident, and smiling. Michael, Madame Ruth said proudly, this is Vanessa. Grace felt dizzy. This is the woman I told you about. She is healthy. She will give you children. She is not barren. Grace turned to look at her husband, waiting for him to speak. Michael did not look confused. He did not look angry. Instead, he nodded. Vanessa smiled at Grace, not kindly, but proudly. She will stay with us from now on, Madame Ruth added. Grace's heart dropped. Mama, Michael, Grace whispered. What does this mean? Michael finally spoke. It means you should behave yourself. Things are changing in this house. That night, Grace lay awake staring at the ceiling as Vanessa laughed softly in the next room. Her marriage was no longer hers alone. And deep inside, Grace felt something tearing apart, something she might never be able to fix.